The story starts with our protagonist, Ryuichi Shishido, who desired a high school girl named Rindo to be his partner, but she always rejected him and disliked his nature. Few days later, she declared that she was already in love with someone. Despite her refusal, he attempted to force himself into her life and into other special activities, such as the NTR, if you know what I mean. However, this was all a flashback, or more like a wet dream of our actual MC from reality. He woke up from his sleep and realized the NTR love manga had invaded his subconscious. After all, there's no way it would be real, right? He attributed the headache he felt to this vivid dream. As he sat down, MC carefully analyzed the situation and came to the astonishing realization that his current life was based on the memories of his past existence. It appeared he had been reincarnated into a world reminiscent of the manga he had read in his previous life. Tragically, in that manga, he played the reprehensible role of a scoundrel who stole another man's woman and used blackmail to manipulate her, leading to her being repeatedly violated. To his dismay, the heroine of the manga, who had just started dating her childhood friend, fell victim to MC's advances as he happened to be in her class. Witnessing himself in such a repulsive role troubled him deeply. MC's family environment was dreadful, and this incident occurred in April, coinciding with the beginning of the manga's story. Never did he expect his past memories to resurface when he was merely a second-year student. It was during this time that he witnessed two boys harassing a girl, but he initially chose not to get involved, attempting to avoid such matters and just mind his own business. However, he soon changed his mind, and he intervened when he couldn't ignore their inappropriate behavior any longer. Stop right there, criminal scum. He felt puzzled as to why people seemed scared of him. In the midst of this, he unexpectedly encountered Rindu Shizuna, a stunning woman who any man would be captivated by. She possessed a well-defined and proportioned face, framed by long, glossy black hair cascading down her back, the very heroine he intended to steal in the manga. MC deemed this encounter too coincidental to be a mere chance. Assuring Rindu the boys wouldn't return, he advised her to be cautious on her way home. Although he apologized for frightening her with his appearance, she graciously thanked him before departing. For MC, being appreciated by someone after a prolonged period brought a sense of happiness he hadn't anticipated, even if it came from the heroine of the manga. He was determined not to taint with a Netherere route, a storyline involving stealing someone's partner and doing questionable things with them. He resolved to avoid any involvement with Rindu to prevent such a storyline from unfolding. Despite his awareness of the past memories influencing his current life, MC's daily existence remained unchanged. He vowed to exert every effort to evade the NTR plotline embedded in the manga's narrative. His classmates silently whispered, "He is dangerous. Don't look at him, his face is scary," reinforcing MC's sense of alienation from others. Surprisingly, he arrived at school early, a deviation from his usual habits. Observing his classmates, he couldn't help but think his senses must have been dulled before his memory returned. Upon Rindu's entrance into the classroom, her peers greeted her warmly, praising her beauty and charm. MC couldn't help but contemplate Rindu's allure, noting her outstanding appearance and aura, characteristics befitting a true heroine. Rindu approached MC to express her gratitude for his help the previous day, apologizing for not thanking him in person earlier. She genuinely appreciated his assistance, complimenting him on his cuteness, a comment that left MC astonished. Evidently, he's never looked into the mirror before. His classmates were taken aback, unsure if Rindu was acting rationally when she engaged in conversation with MC. Soon after, their teacher arrived, signaling the start of the day's activities. Throughout the day, MC kept his distance from Rindu, adhering to the promise he made to himself. "Surely, if I just leave her be, everything will be fine, right?" Despite his efforts to understand the situation, MC remained perplexed, unable to find any clues to make sense of his past memories intertwining with his present life. Sohei, Rindu's boyfriend in the manga, asked her about what she was doing with MC. Rindu replied she felt satisfied whenever she saw MC around her. Rindu then asked Sohei why he was going home late, and he told her he had planned to spend the night with her. Sohei Shinozaki is the protagonist who gets sidelined by Rindu in the original manga that appeared in MC's dream. As soon as MC recalled the events from his past life, only the memories related to the manga came to his mind. Up until now, MC could barely remember the names of his classmates, as his current self hasn't done anything noteworthy. Besides, who cares about classmates in school when you're already having such a great time with girls outside of class? Sohei's intense gaze signifies she misunderstood MC. Even though MC realized he had been reincarnated, he is unable to change anything about his life and would likely be doomed to follow in the footsteps of the manga. However, MC thought if Sohei and Rindu were destined to be together, they could go ahead and do whatever they wanted. MC did not want to get involved in trouble, so he avoided Rindu and Sohei throughout the day. MC ended up sleeping for too long in the 5th period. He woke up in the afternoon and was surprised no one was kind enough to wake him up. He didn't remember anything after the end of the 5th period, likely because he slept late the previous night. MC guessed he had to hurry up and go home. When he looked at the flower vase, he noticed it needed more water, and the water in the vase was dirty too. Rindu appeared and called to MC, and he replied to her like the good boy he is. She asked him what he intended to do with the flower vase, and MC replied he wanted to change the dirty water in the vase. MC was surprised to see Rindu again and wondered why the person he wanted to avoid kept coming his way. It's almost like there's some sort of plot pushing them together. But that couldn't be. Rindu thought MC was not the kind of person to do something bad. She was following MC to the water system, and he asked why she had to come along with him. She replied that, as members of the same class, it was a shared responsibility for them to change the dirty water in the flower vase. Rindu said she guessed MC wouldn't trust rumors at all. MC answered his classmates were not completely wrong. Rindu mentioned she had heard MC was the most notorious delinquent in the history of the high school, and people said he had the worst behavior one could imagine. MC's memories from his past life couldn't change what he had already done in the world, and he realized he could not completely erase his past. Rindu said she thought MC was a kind person, and he replied he was not a kind person or anything. Rindu interrupted, saying someone who was not kind would not do what MC did. MC thought Rindu could call him nice because she hadn't seen the delinquent part of him, like in the original manga. That might be the reason for the misunderstanding. MC warned her to be careful around him, as she was a beautiful woman, and he had the ability to cause trouble for her. He told her to go home as he was busy and might not go home very soon. However, she told him to wait. MC woke up and realized he had been dreaming. He almost flipped a weird switch in the dream. MC promised himself not to have anything to do with the NTR stuff, as he knew it was not a good idea to be involved with her. MC was hungry, and he was surprised to see that there was no more cup of ramen at home. He decided to go and stock up on some instant foods, as he had bad cooking skills and had never cooked in his previous life. MC was shocked to see Rindu in the supermarket, and he tried to turn away, only for her to call out telling him to wait. She reminded him, since they had met earlier, there was no need for him to ignore her. She asked if he wanted to shop for dinner and noticed him buying many cups of ramen, advising him not to buy so much junk food. MC explained he lived alone without a family and couldn't cook, so he ended up taking up junk food naturally. Totally relatable. Rindu apologized for being insensitive to his needs, but her words only made MC feel awkward. Now she is going to worry about me for nothing, MC thought to himself. He blamed himself for saying something unnecessary. Rindu tapped MC. What is it now? MC asked. Rindu offered to cook for him and asked him to take her to his house, but MC refused, fearing he would be walking right into the NTR ending. Rindu insisted on coming to MC's house to make dinner for him, promising not to let him go out of the supermarket without taking her along. MC wondered why she cared for him to that extent. He thought he could accidentally lose his reason and get himself into trouble. MC asked her why she insisted on coming to his apartment, even though she was well aware he lived alone. MC hoped that things wouldn't turn out the way they did in the original story of the manga, with tons of fun stuff happening on his bed. After all, it's the same stuff that happened with many other women. Despite his initial reluctance, he agreed to walk Rindu home if she was scared of the troublemaking guys. Of course, in the original manga, it was he who attacked her. So what did she have to fear now? However, Rindu insisted on going to MC's place. He admitted to himself he was weak-willed, as he found himself drawn to her appearance and pure gaze. Rindu asked if she could use his apron, but MC informed her it was dirty. He pondered how to make Rindu leave his apartment, realizing he had been getting caught up in her pace since earlier in the day. He couldn't understand how everything ended up like this. Suddenly, a thought crossed his mind, and he found it refreshing to have a lady cook a meal for him. He reminisced about his previous life and wondered how long it had been since someone had cooked for him. Rindu placed nikujaga, a delicacy, on the table, serving it with rice. MC thought it was the best food combination he had ever tasted, and Rindu explained he wanted to cook something quickly, hence the simple yet delicious delicacy. He admitted that the food was incredibly delicious, and she warned him not to eat in a hurry to avoid choking. Curious about her cooking skills, Rindu asked if the food she prepared was really delicious. MC took a gulp of water and confessed it was his first time having nikujaga taste this good. Rindu advised him not to overeat, but he insisted she join him in feasting on the food, otherwise he would finish it all by himself. Rindu agreed to eat with him, and MC remarked again how delicious the nikujaga was. He finished his meal and thanked Rindu for her hospitable character, complimenting her cooking. As the evening progressed, MC remembered his initial plan to send Rindu away, yet there he was, having dinner with her. He realized he had been deceiving himself and that being alone with someone like Rindu was not a good idea. When she offered to wash the dishes, he told her not to worry and asked her to leave. However, an accident occurred, and she fell to the floor, prompting MC to try to catch her. But they ended up in an awkward position. Embarrassed, MC apologized, but Rindu assured him she was not offended. He concluded he needed to send Rindu home before he lost his reasoning again, acknowledging that being alone with her was not a good idea. Rindu, however, dismissed his worries and told him she barged in herself. Grateful for her cooking, MC confessed to her that she must have heard various rumors about him, including his past relationships with many women. He admitted to his checkered past and advised her not to come to the home of someone like him. Edgy, are we? Undeterred, Rindu thanked him for his honesty and said she couldn't just leave him alone. She showed MC her house and promised to come over again to cook dinner for him. Annoyed that Rindu wasn't listening to him, MC couldn't help but feel more and more irritated. Meanwhile, Rindu's mom Shizuna welcomed her back home and was curious about her friend. Rindu apologized for coming home late and retreated to her room, unable to stop thinking about how adorable MC looked while eating and enjoying her food. She was fascinated by his strength and dependability, and she appreciated how he helped her when she crossed the line. Soon after, Soe called Rindu to check on her, concerned about the earlier conversation she had with MC in the class. Rindu assured him it was not a significant discussion. Soe reminded Rindu about what people say about MC, plays around with many women, has a menacing look, and gives off a delinquent vibe. In response, Rindu replied, telling him she wasn't threatened at all, and that MC is a good person. She declared she wanted to sleep and would be ending the call. Soe then suggested he might have some ulterior motives towards Rindu. Rindu, confident in her belief that MC is a kind person, decided to trust him despite what others said about him. She and Sohei were childhood friends, and during their younger days, they had loved each other and even agreed to marry once they became adults. However, Sohei couldn't help but wonder why Rindu trusted MC more than him, her childhood friend. Meanwhile, MC found himself reminiscing about Rindu's delicious food and her beauty. He was tempted to taste her food again, but knew he had a hard time resisting both her culinary skills and her attractiveness. Just then, he heard a familiar voice behind him, Chisa, a longtime friend who had come to meet him. Curious, MC asked Chisa how much alcohol she had consumed. Quite a bit, apparently. Chisa was a flashy and attention-grabbing college girl, and she and MC maintained a casual, uncomplicated relationship. Chisa shared how she had been at a celebration party where some guys insisted on walking her home, a situation she found disgusting. Upon entering MC's room, Chisa noticed it looked cleaner than before. MC explained she had taken out the trash, leading Chisa to playfully tease him about whether a new woman had influenced him with her neatness. MC denied having anyone like that in his life and insisted he was all alone. Chisa, amused by MC's response, complimented him as a dream man that any lady would cherish. Despite the playful banter, MC thanked her for the compliment. However, when Chisa expressed her desire to stay the night and explore her body with him, MC politely declined, suggesting she take a bath and that they wouldn't sleep together. Unbeknownst to MC, Rindu had unconsciously wandered close to his house. She wondered if it was because of what had happened earlier and assumed she had taken a shortcut, bringing her closer to MC's residence due to its proximity to their school. As she observed MC walking with another lady holding his arm, Rindu quickly hid her face, recalling what he had said about his relationships with women. She easily avoids the NPC's aggro check and watches them from afar. Chisa, seeing Rindu, playfully clings to MC, leaving a kiss on his cheek before departing. MC then noticed Rindu and asked Chiza to stop clinging to him. Rindu's heart ached as she watched MC with another woman. However, she was interrupted when Sohei grabbed her from behind and apologized, explaining his actions were driven by his worry for her. Rindu replied she needed to get to school early and left Sohei behind. Lost in thought, Rindu almost collided with a moving car, but MC came to her rescue by pulling her back. She couldn't understand why MC was so kind to her despite trying to push her away with his delinquent facade. After school, MC met a woman at a bar, and they had drinks together. The bartender advised the woman to go home early, sensing MC's intentions. The woman revealed she had been lonely since her husband's passing, and she was looking for someone to keep her company. MC promised to make her feel good, and their interaction took a romantic turn. Suddenly, MC woke up from his dream, realizing he had fallen asleep after lunch. He couldn't help but recall that in real life, every woman who slept with him seemed to fall in love with him, making him wonder about the consequences of such encounters. But that was a memory from the past. It involved the same woman who resembled Rindo, despite their age difference. Rinda decided to visit MC out of concern for his lack of cooking skills. She wanted to prepare a decent meal for him. However, MC insisted she need not worry about him, and revealed he survived on bread for breakfast and lunch, while going to a bar for dinner. Rindo, worried about his alcohol consumption, offered to accompany him to the bar to ensure he stayed away from it. MC expressed his reservations about Rindu going to a bar, claiming it was not a suitable place for a good girl like her. Nevertheless, Rindu disregarded his advice and joined him at the bar. The bartender noticed the girl accompanying MC was different from the usual women he saw him with. He offered some advice to Rindo, but she brushed it off, choosing to remain by MC's side. The bartender then treated them both as regular customers. Unexpectedly, Rindu's mother walked into the bar and was surprised to find her daughter with MC. Both Rindu and MC were taken aback to meet her there. Rindu was stunned to discover her classmate, MC, might have been having an affair with her mother. MC acknowledged the awkwardness of the situation and feared Rindu might find out about their relationship. Thinking quickly, Rindu's mother asked Rindu to introduce her friend, and Rindu came up with a story about her helping MC improve his eating habits by cooking for him. She also explained she was at the bar to keep an eye on him and prevent him from drinking alcohol. Rindu's mother appreciated MC for looking out for her daughter. They all had a meal together, but Rindu excused herself to use the restroom. In her absence, Rindu's mother and MC began discussing their secret love affair, deciding to keep it hidden from Rindu. MC felt guilty about being involved in such an unusual relationship, while Rindu's mother confessed to having fallen in love with him. She asked him to reward her for keeping their secret by embracing her tightly. Unfortunately, Rindu caught them in an intimate moment, and her mother tried to cover up her actions, claiming to feel tipsy. Rindu confronted her mother, who then apologized and left. Rindu asked MC if he had met her mother before, and she requested he call her by her first name, just as he did with her mother. MC obliged and called her Shizuna. Afterward, they both went their separate ways to their respective homes. Later, Sohei, Rindu's boyfriend, looked at MC with resentment, wondering why Rindu clung to him more than she did to her own partner and childhood friend. In the storage room, MC sat alone, pondering the situation. Rindu suddenly approached him and asked if he had a past relationship with her mother. MC was taken aback and accidentally spilled some milk, confessing he had once slept with Rindu's mother. He feared Rindu would hate him for it, but to MC's surprise, Rindu revealed the secret he shared was the reason why her mother had been moody lately. She then shocked him further by expressing her gratitude for what he had done for her mother since her father's departure. Rindu felt solace in knowing her mother found comfort in MC's presence. She even asked him if he would consider having a similar relationship with her, becoming her partner as well. The story continues with Rindu on top of Ryuichi, pinning him to the floor and literally straight up asking if he wants to take a nap with her. Naturally, MC is surprised and asks her why she suddenly decided to do this, but he sees her shaking arms and realizes he can only imagine the courage it must have taken for her to ask him such a question. Thinking things through carefully, he tells her if she's asking him whether or not he wants to do fun things with her, the answer is yes. This makes her really excited, but before anything else can happen, Captain's stomach growling strikes and MC tells her to go and eat her lunch, causing her to run off promising to see him later. After she leaves him alone, MC finally lets out a sigh of relief at having avoided such a weird situation. I'm in seriously deep crap, he mutters while blushing a little. Meanwhile, Rindu is feeling really embarrassed at her stomach having started to growl at such an awkward moment. But her face is so red I heard the Soviet march playing in the background. She's just really glad her crush sees her as a woman too, and not just a classmate. Something no girl has ever thought of in my life, unfortunately. The next day at school, MC thinks about how he's been coming to school diligently ever since his memories returned, but he doesn't feel like attending afternoon classes today. He decides to head home for now and try to regain his composure by tomorrow. Unfortunately, peace of mind is something our poor man just can't seem to get. The moment he gets home, his phone starts to ring and he gets a call from Seiki, Rindu's mother. Although he hesitates at first, he picks up and they talk about Seiki having to leave on a work trip for 2 days. I know it's sudden, she apologizes, but could you stay at our place with Rindu during that time? When MC yells at her, warning against inviting a guy like himself over, Seiki confesses there's been something odd going around her lately. For example, when she was home alone the other day, she received multiple silent calls and has been getting love letters addressed to her. Without a name, no less. All this makes it plenty abundant there's someone following her, like a stalker or something. But whenever her mother talked to her about it, Rindu always seemed to brush it off and put on a brave face. Seiki wants someone who can protect her to be by her side, and there's obviously nobody better than the kind-hearted brute that is our MC. You realize she's caught onto our relationship, right? MC asks, wondering how Seiki feels about the possibility he might sleep with both mother and daughter. Aura, even if that happens, it's not my place to interfere. You're not the kind of person who would ignore her feelings and force her to do stuff against her will. So come over to our place, okay? The lady replies cheerfully before hanging up. Later that night, MC shows up at Rindu's place, surprising her and really cheering her up. She didn't expect him to actually come, and you know she's excited for him to come, if you know what I mean. The girl is really excited to have a sleepover with her crush, and she asks him to come in, offering to go get the food ready right away. Although initially hesitant, a good meal later changes all of his thoughts and he's checking her out while they're sitting on the sofa. A mere glance from him makes her really start to blush. She gulps before setting up her trap. Rindu comments on how hot it is, before MC even gets a chance to deny it. What with them being indoors and stuff, she's taken off the rest of her clothes and showing off her assets. MC sees how flustered she is and tells her not to take it off if she's that embarrassed, his judging stares making her panic a bit. Trying to shift the mood a bit and execute the next phase of her plan, she suggests he take a shower first, only for MC to realize he forgot his underwear, since he was in a rush to get to her place. Not wanting to go without for the night, he apologizes and tells her he's going to the convenience store for a bit. When she asks to come with him so she can get some dessert, MC takes note of how defenseless and inviting she looks and declines, telling her to stay home for her own safety. Lock the door quickly and don't open it, no matter who shows up, he warns, before shutting the door and leaving. His sudden departure makes Rindu's face heat up once again, as she believes he went to get some wrappers for his hot dog. Just then, she hears the doorbell and sees Sohei when she goes to answer the door. My mom gave me something to hand over to you, he mutters, staring deadpan at her through the peephole. He looks kinda suspicious, but Rindu doesn't really have a reason to doubt her childhood friend, apparently forgetting about all those creepy letters and calls she was getting. When she opens the door for him, he bursts inside like a wild animal and grabs her, sniffing her weirdly and doing some very suspicious things with his hands. He confesses he's been the one stalking her, and she realizes too late that she's in grave danger. Sohei promptly pushes her to the ground and declares he would purify her of having been tainted by MC. He covers her mouth and begins to administer his sinister desires upon her. Ryuichi, help me, she thinks, looking at her crazed childhood friend. The story flashes to a memory of Shizuna and Suhei when they were younger. In May, he asked her to go out with him, and she happily accepted, not quite understanding what love was and not even knowing what would change between them. When he would ask her to hold hands with him, she agreed, thinking he was like a younger brother she couldn't leave alone. Their relationship was wonderful, since they were like family together. But everything changed when Rindu Shizuna met Ryuichi. Suhei has gone mad, thinking Shizuna was tainted by MC and swearing to forgive her and purify her. As he looms over her menacingly, she thinks about how she just can't believe he would do that to her. After all, she's always considered him her little brother. Suhei starts touching her inappropriately, and she starts praying for MC to help her. Unfortunately for her, who should arrive but MC himself. He comes home shocked to see Sohei there, then sees Rindo's terrified face. Without thinking, he promptly grabs Sohei by the back of his shirt and pulls him off of Rindo. When he sees the state she's in, something inside MC's head snaps, and he punches Sohei so hard, he goes flying into the wall. Why of all people are you the one scaring her? He yells into Sohei's face, causing him to nearly wet himself. But as she watches MC unleash his wrath, Rindu notices something different about MC and grabs him before he can do anything else. Sohei, ever the pathetic coward, seems to take this as her finally realizing her love for him and happily cries out her name. I knew you would understand me. MC steps back, confused as to what Rindu is about to do, only for both guys to watch as she goes up and promptly slaps Sohei hard across the face. I never imagined that my childhood friend would do something like this. What you did is despicable. Don't get involved with me anymore. And with that, looking at MC and Rindo towering over him, Sohei scurries to the door, forces it open, and runs away crying like a wimp. With the incident resolving itself, Rindu staggers and collapses on the floor, letting out a little yelp. MC bends down beside her and covers her with his jacket, causing her to look endearingly at him. MC tells her to sit down and take a breath to calm down, leading her away from the door and to a room. She plops down on the bed and starts telling him about Sohei and how she still can't believe he would do something like that. MC agrees, thinking about what happened in the original NTR manga. He thought leaving them alone would mean Shizuna would be with Sohei and everything would be peaceful. But the true nature of Sohei disgusts him. Rinda thanks MC for saving her and admits she was glad he was there for her. When MC sees she's still trembling, he goes to place his hand on her shoulder but stops short. After all, she has seen the violent and scary side of her, what with punching Sohei in the face. Instead, he turns away and tells her he'll be in the next room. But Shizuna grabs him and tells him not to go. MC is confused, but she tells him she was really scared when Sohei touched her, but it's different with MC. It feels good when MC touches her, since she feels safe and warm. Rindo asks him to stay with her tonight. I was scared, and I want you to overwrite that experience. She blushes and looks him in the eye. Even if I'm just one of the many girls you've been with, I still want you. With that, she falls back on the bed and holds her arms out for him. Please touch me all over. Following this, Ryuichi asks if Shizuna is being serious, to which she replies with an affirmative. She reminds him how he was always there for her when she needed help the most, and protected her in her times of need. I like you, she tells him, admitting she would be alright with it even if she wasn't his only one. Until now, MC had been with women solely for the sake of doing it, but he didn't expect it to be this hard to make a move when someone asked him to sleep with them. He places a knee on the edge of the bed and plants his hands down on either side of her head. Looming over her, he asks her if she's sure she won't regret it, and she tells him she won't. Having gained her consent, MC leans down and plants a deep kiss on her mouth, before intertwining his fingers with hers and looking deep into her eyes. It's time for him to get intertwined with her and look really deep into certain areas. As she looks up at him, blushing and her heart racing, MC takes off both of their shirts and reveals her twin melons. He seizes those bouncy jewels and starts squeezing them, causing Shizuna to make a bunch of cute noises as she twitches on the bed. MC asks her if she's feeling it a bit too much, and she gives these really embarrassed replies. But before she can go any further, MC slips his hand into her pocket. MC does just that, and asks her if she doesn't like it, but she instead grabs him and begs him not to stop, pleading with him to keep teasing her more about certain things. Fired up for real now, MC gets back into it, and the two devolve into a very heated embrace on the bed, making plenty of very indecent sounds until they collapse onto each other, intertwined in a loving embrace with Shizuna calling MC's name as she falls asleep. The next morning, Shizuna wakes up to MC sitting by her bed, telling her it's Saturday. Although they have some time, there's still stuff to do. MC checks on her and asks if she's doing fine, only for her to immediately flush red as she remembers the previous night's events. MC flinches at her reaction, being a bit tense himself, but she only slips under the sheets briefly before telling him she's doing okay. She greets him good morning too, before saying she'll go make breakfast. MC stops her there, telling her to at least change her clothes first, since she's wearing literally just his jacket. She tells him to go on ahead for a moment, and MC leaves the room without hesitation. When everything is done and dusted, the two enjoy coffee together on the sofa. Shizuna talks about how a lot of things happened yesterday and wonders how things would turn out in the future. But as she leans her head on his shoulder, she admits she feels so happy right now. MC looks away, at a loss for words, telling her that's good to hear. Unfortunately for him, her next words immediately cause him to nearly spit out his coffee. When I drink something, the inside of my stomach still feels all tingly.